This is the third video of the series and we're adding appointment booking functionality in our WordPress website. Hi, my name is Stratos and I'm constantly producing tutorials about WordPress. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I have a sore throat, so sorry for the voice, but let's go and get on with the video. In the previous video, we added all the content that we needed for the services and the technicians, and we can now start building our forms for the front end. We're going to go into the jet engines and then we're going into the forms. Here, as you can see, we have already two forms that have been automatically created by the wizard. And as you can see here, you can use the shortcode and have it appeared in the front end no matter what page builder you're having. Of course, Elementor and Gutenberg have their own elements, so you can use their elements to add them in the front end. And since they have their own elements, you can also style it a little bit using those elements. If you are just using the shortcode, you will find that you don't have any settings for the appearance, and you can do that only with custom CSS. Gutenberg doesn't give you too much to play with for the settings, but Elementor has a ton of more settings to do. Let's start by viewing the differences between those two forms. So we have the single service booking form and the static page booking form. The one difference that they have is that the single service booking form doesn't include a service field inside that form, so the visitor cannot select any services inside that form. Basically, you are going to use this form inside a service single page, so when the visitor is going to view the service, he has already selected the service because he's viewing it. If he is going to fill out the form, then it means that he has already selected the service because this is the service that he wants, and that's why he has selected that form to fill out. There's no need to add an extra step and select the service that you want. But the static page form has all the fields, so the visitor will go into the front end or whatever page you will select to add that form, and he will fill out every single step, including the services. Of course, in your case, maybe you have one service and you have many persons that can do this service, many providers, so you will do something different. In these videos, we're going to dip inside those forms and you can understand what you are doing, and you can customize your form however you want, so you can build pretty much everything. We're going to start by editing the static page form. So we're going to click edit. I'm going to open that in a new page. And this is how it looks. Now, in order for you to understand everything inside here, I would like to compare it with the front end so we can go and see field by field what we're doing. So now I'm going to open also the front page. Let's go here and open the front page. And this is the Elementor, so I'm going to use that at first. And then I'm going to add also the form inside the Gutenberg. So let's start by Elementor. I'm going to edit that. And now here I'm going to add also the form. So in order to do that, I can scroll down. And once I'm here inside the jet engine elements, I have here the form. So now let's add the form down here, and I'm going to select from the select form, type here static. Okay, static page booking form. This is the one. Let's update that. And let's refresh here. Now I know that I don't have a white background, so as you can see, you cannot really see what it's going on. So what I'm going to do is go inside here and I'm going to change that and change the background. So let's go here, click that element, go into the style. No, it's in advanced, and then let's go for background, and we're going for the classic, and for the color, let's go for white. And let's go for a little bit of transparency, something like that. Okay, update that. And now, since I know that the form is taking the full width here, I want it to be a little bit narrow. So I'm going to add another element. Let's go and add an intersection with two columns, and I'm going to put that element inside the left column. So it will not take the full width of the page. Okay, let's update that again. Let's go here and refresh the page. Now that I have it in one element, it's not looking too good because I don't like the gray background, and of course it needs some padding inside here, but we're not going to change those settings in this video. We can see clearly the form, so we can go ahead and play with the form at this moment. Let's start by viewing here. We have the first field, which is select service. If I click here, I will see that I don't have any services that I can select. So let's go to the form and see what we're having. Okay, back into the form. We have the name up here, of course, and then we have something that says type hidden. So this means that you cannot see it in the front end. There is here in the back end. Also, there are some things that are going to be registered inside the database. Basically, the page ID is the one, and this is only something that the form needs in order to work, and later on we're going to see where it's going to play a role. But you're not going to edit that, you're not going to delete it, you need it here. Now, in this particular example, it's not a basic thing that you need to have, but do not change that because you may need it later on. We're going to leave it as hidden. It doesn't matter. You're not going to see it in the front end. Next step, we have the services ID, and basically this is the field from the services, from the selected service that we see in the form. So if we go here and we click inside the pencil, this means that we're going to edit the form. Every time that we are editing the form, we need to hit apply the changes for the particular field and then go and update the whole form. If you don't do both of those, something is not going to be saved. Always remember to apply the changes for the field and then update the whole form. Let's go and see what we have. The first field is the select, and we have already seen in the first video because we used inside the custom fields to create a meta field. So we know what we're doing here. We have some more options like the appointment date, appointment provider, and repeatable field group start and group end. We're not going to choose any of those. We're going to leave it as select for now. After that, we have the name, which will be the service ID. Keep in mind that this is name that is used inside the database, so it's better to leave it as it is. Then we have the label, and this is the name that you're going to see in the front end, so the visitor is going to see select service or select a service. If you want, you can select the description for that. You can select if it's required or not. Of course, for me, it's required. Then we have the field options from, which means where those options are coming from. And we have the posts, we have the manual input terms, which means a category. Then we have the meta field, we have the generate dynamically, and we have the glossary. We're going to leave it as posts. And then in the post types, we're going to select the services. So the services, we're going to provide the options for this field. Then we have the value from meta field. We're not going to touch it at this moment. Calculate value from meta field. We're not going to calculate anything at this moment. Switch page on change, which means that later on we're going to change a little bit this, and it's going to go into the next step after something is selected in the front end. Then we have the placeholder, which means that you can add something to be inside those fields for the front end as default. Then we have the default settings. After that, we have the add previous page button. This doesn't make sense in this step because this is the first field, but later on we're going to see where it can be used. Then we have the field visibility, and as you can see, it's for all, only for logged in users and only for logged out users. And then we have the custom CSS class. Not all those settings make sense inside these fields because with the Jet Engine forms you can build many things. It's not particular just for the appointments. So you can use the form element to create other stuff as well. So it has all the settings here if you may need them. We're going to hit apply changes, and then we're going here and we're going to update that. So we made only one change. We select the post to be the services. So if I go now to the front end and refresh the page here, if I click the select service, I can now see that I have change tires, season service, and oil change. Now the problem here is that the change tires is already selected because I have three options to select from, and the first one will be always selected. So I want to go into the backend again, into the service ID, and I'm going to edit that. And here that it has the placeholder, I'm going to change that to select a service. and I'm going to change that to service, just to have something different here. So the label will be service, the label will be service, and the placeholder will be select a service or please select a service. Let's go and update that. And I didn't hit apply changes, so this field did not saved. Let's go and do that again. And this is why I always tell you to hit apply changes, because I do forget it sometimes. Let's go and change that to S capital, and then for the placeholder select a service. Okay, first apply changes and then update. Let's go now to the front end. Let's refresh the page. Okay, and you can see the change stars again because I have refreshed the page and it has kept the previous setting. So if I go here, you can see that it says select a service. So if I close this page and open it again, I will see the select a service here, which is not an actual service. And this means that the visitor will have to select a service here. He has to click here and he has to select something here. If we go to the second one, we can see that it says John 1 and John. Those two are here because it was already the change tire selected. So if the visitor selects something from here, he will get something different for the providers. So select season services, then you will get Dave or Dave 1. Select oil change, then you will get another service provider, the Peter and Peter 1. Also, if you can see, we also have a little bit refresh inside here the dates because they have their own dates based on the services. So every time that we select different services, this will keep refreshing, as you can see here. Let's go and see the second field, which is the select provider. For me, the provider is the technician. So this is the second field, the third in our form because the first is hidden. So it says provider ID. Let's change that. Edit with a pencil, and here we have the type. The type is the appointment provider. Now, as you can see, it looks like a select form in the front end, but it's different in the back end because it has to calculate the first option that you're going to put, the service, and then it has to go and see which are the providers that are going for that service. So this is why we have here the type appointment provider. If we go and change that to a select, then we don't have any other settings here. Let's go and do the same just to see. Here we have the fill option from, and we're going to select the posts, and the post will be the technicians. So this is how it would look like to be correct, but it's not going to work. If I hit apply changes and then go and update that, let's go in the front end and then refresh the page once it's saved. Okay, it's saved. Now I'm going to see here all the providers. As you can see, it doesn't matter what service you're going to choose, you're going to see all the providers. Also, if you select here the Peter 1, you will see that this will change and you will have no services at all. So it will not going to work with this. You have to go back and you have to go and edit that. And here for the select, we're going to change to appointment provider. Now, of course, this field has a sense only if you have many providers. If you are building a website that has many services, but only one person, one provider, then you don't need to include that field. The same goes if you have many providers, but you only have one services. Then you don't need to include this service here, the select the service. You're just going to include a select field for the providers. So if you're going to do that, just go and here select the select service. Of course, if you haven't select to add the providers in the wizard, then you wouldn't have this field. But I'll just show you here the settings in order to understand everything inside here. Let's continue with the other settings that we have. So the provider specific settings. Where are we getting the providers? So the form field is the service ID. This means match the service ID with the providers and show me only the providers that are doing that service. Here we have the set service ID for manually input because there may be a reason that you want to create a form. You have many services, but you want to create a form that has only one service and it's going to be appeared in the front end as well. So you're going to select here the service ID, and this is the only one that can be chosen here. It will show the providers for only that service. If you want to find the service ID, you can go into the services, open the services, and once you hover over here and go into the edit, you will see at the bottom left of the corner that it says crocop/wp-admin/post-php equals post equals 70. That 70, that number is the ID of that particular service that I'm hovering over. If we go to the season, I have here the number 69. If I go to the oil change, I have the 68. Now, it's not going to be every time the numbers one after the other, but at this moment, because I first added the services and then I go and added the technicians, that's why I have those numbers, the one following the other, 68, 69, and 70. In your case, you may have 68 here, and then you're going to see something like 74 or something different, or 129. It doesn't matter. You can see and you can find your ID. Let's close that and go back. So you can add here for manually input only. Do not add anything if you're going to have this field calculated automatically. After that, we have the custom template, and this means that it will grab the template that we have already created for this particular field. Of course, we don't have any template at this moment, but we're going to see it later on video, how we're going to create templates, and we're going to edit that and add them here. Then we can select the template and we can select if we want to switch the page, which means to go into the next step for the form. Let's leave those empty. And for the name, we have the provider ID. Again, this is the name inside the database. Don't change that. Then we have the label, which is select provider. So we can change the label for the front end. Here we can go for providers, or for me, technicians. Then we have the required, we have the default if we want to add something as a default. We have the add previous page button. We have already said what is this, and we're going to add that in a later on video. We have the field visibility, which is for all, and we have custom CSS class. Now let's save that, apply changes, and let's go and update that. And let's go and refresh here. We were going to change this from select provider to services. Sorry, technicians. Okay, this is the one I selected. So if we go and select the change tire services, we have the John and John 1. If we go and add something different, we have different technicians, as you can see. Okay, next field is the date here. So this is the appointment that you're going to select. Let's go back, and here the fourth field is the appointment date, as you can see here, and the type is appointment date. Let's edit that. And of course, the type here is the appointment date. If you change that to something like a date and time, this will not work along with your appointments because it wants to calculate every time what are the dates and times that they have from the services and from the technicians. So that's why we have here the appointment date. We have the get service ID from, and it says form field, and then service ID. So get the services from the service ID, and then get the providers from the provider's ID. Combine those two and you will find the open slots that you have, so the visitor can select the slot that he wants for the appointment. If we click here, we can see that we have no selected, current post ID, which doesn't make any sense for this moment, form field, and manually input if you want for some reason to select to have a manually input for the service. We're going to leave it as form field. And then in the services, we have the page ID, service ID, provider ID, and user email. Okay, we're going to select that as service ID. Now, I hope that something has already clicked to you. The form field and the service ID should be some way familiar because we've seen it already to the previous two fields, the service ID and the provider ID. If I click cancel, we're going to see here the service ID and the provider ID. What does it mean? That the form field is getting the selections, the settings from the form itself. So what the visitor has selected already is the choices, and those will be calculated from what the visitor has selected from the same form. So basically it says go and see inside the form field that is called service ID and see what the visitor has selected. And once you do that, go also and check the form field that is called provider ID and see what the visitor has selected for that. and then you can calculate and see what slots are available. So you have only one service, and some providers you will not see this particular row. You have many services but only one provider, you will not see this particular row. You don't need that. You only have those services to be selected. But in this case, I need both of those so the appointment date can be calculated correctly. After that, we have the name, and this is the name that it's been in the database, appointment date. Then we have the label, and you can go and add the label. As you can see, we don't have any label here. So I can go and add here something like select the date and hour of the appointment. Okay, after that we have the description, we have the required, default, add previous page, field visibility, custom CSS class, and apply changes. I'm going to apply, and then I'm going to update that. Let's go to the front end again, refresh here. And now we have the select the date and hour of the appointment. Now let's select something here. Season service, okay, it's okay. Let's go and select the day. And then we can go and select the fields here once they are calculated. As you can see, I don't have anything inside here because the season service is only going to work with some months, and February is not a month that this particular service can be booked. So let's go and select something different, select the services. Okay. Something is not working correctly, and I'm thinking that inside the provider's ID I haven't saved what I need to do. No, it's looking okay. Let's update that again, and once again let's go and refresh here. Okay, select something different like change tires. Okay, and then let's select John. Now I have the date and the hour that I'm going to select. So once I click here, the 15th of February, I'm going to see now the hours, as you can see here. And you can click here the X and close that and select a different date. Now, I don't really like how this looks in the front end, but I cannot change that too much. I can go and change a little bit the colors, maybe add a different background or a border or something different, but I cannot change entirely how this is looking. I don't like that this breaks, and here you can see a 28th. And if you are wondering what is this, this is the next date of the ones that are in the same line here. So if I go and select here the 8th, I will have all those numbers to be after the hours here. I don't really like how this is looking, but I cannot change how this appears. I wish I had more styles to select from, but I don't. So we cannot do anything here. So I'm going to select something like that. And now, once I do that, you will see here the appointment details, which says change tires with John, February 8, 2022, and then the slot, the hour that I have selected. This is something that is automatically created inside the appointment date field. So whenever you select something, you will always see the appointment details here. You can hide it if you want with custom CSS. We don't have any settings for that. But if you are wondering here, you will not see this field inside the form. We have another field that we can select and then calculate everything and show also the price, because the price is not something that you can see here. But this is something that is automatically created from the appointment date. Okay, last field is the user email, as you can see here. And let's go here and let's see. As you can see, this is the user email, which is type is text. Let's go and add that. So the type is the text, field type is email, this is the name for the database, label, user email. I would like that to change a little bit. Let's change that to add your email. Description required, set input mask if you want to change that to something more specific. Mask is something that you will find usually in the number forms or something like that. If we select that, we will see that we have examples like something like that. So this is the form that you're going to see in the front end. If you add 10 numbers, one next to the other, it will automatically go add the first 3 inside the brackets, then leave a space, then add 3 more, then put a hyphen, and then put 4 more numbers, even if the visitor is going to just type 10 numbers one next to the other. So they will have something particularly for the appearance. There are many examples for mask that you can search if you want Google, but we're going to deselect that because we don't need that. Placeholder, if you want to add something here. Default, minimum length, maximum length, these are for the text field, of course. Add previous page button, field visibility, custom CSS class, and apply changes. Let's apply because we changed something, and then update that. Let's go in the front end again and refresh here. So we're going to see the user email to change, like add your email. Okay, and after that we have the book now button. Let's go into the form again, and the last field is submit button, which is the book now, and type is submit. Let's edit that. We have the label, which is what it's going to appear inside the button, book now, and then we have the custom CSS class. We don't have any other settings to do because all the actions after someone presses the button is not going to be done inside this field. So let's hit cancel because I haven't changed anything, and this of course is the button. We're going to leave those three buttons for now, the add field, the add submit button, and the add page break, and we're going straight to the insert appointment. These are the actions, as it says here, post submit actions or notification settings. These are the actions that are done inside the form or in the form after the visitor is going to click the button, the book now button in this example. So let's go and edit that. And here we're going to see some fields, and here we're going to see some options. So first we have the type, and it says here insert appointment. So basically register the appointment inside the database. What else we can choose? Send an email, insert update a post, register new user, update options, call a hook, call a webhook, redirect to a page, Mailchimp, active campaign, get response, and insert appointment. If you select something different here, then you're not going to have that appointment register inside the database, and this form will not going to work. So basically you will need to go and select first the insert appointment or leave it as it is selected. If you want to do other settings as well, then you can add something after that action. But for first, leave this action here like insert appointment as it is now. And after that, we can see here the fields that we have inside the database that are for this appointment, for the appointments to work. So we have the service ID, provider ID, appointment date, and user email. And then we have the four fields that we have created ourselves, the phone number, car maker, car model, and car year. These are the four fields that we have created in the first video. And then we have some things that we can select here. And basically it says map the fields that we have inside the database to the correct fields inside this particular form, so you can have those information to be registered inside the database. So the service ID is the service ID, provider ID is the provider ID, appointment date is the appointment date, and the user email field is the user email here. As you can see, those are the names here: page ID, service ID, provider's ID, and appointment date. So for those four, we don't have anything inside the form, so we need to create more fields in order for the visitor to select the phone number, add the phone number, and this will be registered inside the database. Select the car maker, car model, and car year, and all those will be added inside the database and follow the appointment. So let's hit apply changes, and this means that it will just add those inside the database. Okay, I've said it too many times, and it will basically go and book that slot. After that, you can add something new. It doesn't matter that it says here add notification. It can do much more things than just notification. You can just click here and select that to register a new user, to update a user, to update option. Everything that you can see here is something that you can use. This add notification I think is misleading, but you can add more stuff inside here. Now maybe you would like here, after the button, the book now button is pressed, to send an email to the administrator and says you have a new appointment booked, then to send an email to the visitor that says you have successfully booked an appointment, and then give the information, and also then go and redirect the visitor to another page that says thank you for your booking, and we're going to give you something in return, like a coupon or something, or you can go ahead and do whatever you like after that. So if you want to send an email, then you can do it by selecting here the send an email, of course. And then it says mail to. So you can select the admin email, the email from submitted form field, and this means that it will grab the visitor email, which has been added in the form. And then it says also custom email. Now, I'm missing here a field, which for me is very important, and I would like the Crocoblock team to add, and this would be custom meta field. So I could automatically inform the particular technician, the provider, that he has a new appointment. So I can go and select here for the meta field his own email inside the technicians that I have added already. In this particular example, I don't think that I have added email, but I could go and add a custom meta field that is going to be the technician email, and then I'm going to select here to send an email every time that he has been selected from a customer, and he's going to be informed directly for the services that he's going to provide at some point. I hope in the future they will add this because I really do want this option. Okay, then we have the reply to, which means that once you're going to read that email, you can go ahead and click reply and it will grab this automatically, this address. So it is not selected, email from submitted field or custom email. So we can go and select custom email and then add the email of our company. If we're going, of course, to send this email to the customer, to the one that selected and add this form, and not to the admin. Okay, the admin is not selected. The admin doesn't need to reply. Now, of course, you have also the option to select here the customer as a reply. So the admin can basically reply to the email and it will send it directly. But maybe you have some information inside that email that you are getting for the admin that you don't want the customer to see. So I don't think that this is a good idea. So let's leave it as not selected and let's go on. Then we have the subject, which may be we have a new appointment or you have a new appointment, because this is the admin. Okay. Then we have the from name, and this can be the website form, website booking form. Okay. Then we have the from email address, and here we can type the email that we have for the company, info at, I don't know, cartech.com. Okay, then we have the contact type, which is HTML, and you can select plain if you want, but I would select the HTML. And then we have here the available macros, the page ID, service ID, provider ID, appointment date, and user email. And as you can see, all of those start with the percentage and end with a percentage, which means that this will be replaced with the information that is grabbing from the form. Of course, you can also use the fields that we don't have here because they are custom added by us. And those are, let's go here. And if we go and insert here, we're going to see those: phone number, car maker, car model, and car year. Those are automatically created from us, and that's why they're not appearing here, because the plugin doesn't know that we have added those. If you want, you can add those as well. So let's go and see an example. Let's start by someone book a service. Now, I don't have the name because I haven't selected inside the form to add a name, but we're going to change it later on, of course. So someone book a service. Now, instead of the service, I'm going to change that to the service ID. So this will be replaced with the actual service that this someone booked. So someone booked a service, which will be replaced with the change tires or change oil or season service. After that, let's go with, and then we're going to select the provider ID and going to paste that in here. Then on, and then the date. Okay. And then we have the user email if we want to add it. If we want now to add our fields that we have, we can go and put here car model, and then go inside the insert appointment and find what we have here. Car model is here. if we want the car maker, we can copy this field. The phone number is this field. So let's open again the send email. And here I'm going to paste that. And what does it need in order to work? A percentage in the front and a percentage in the end. Those two are going to make that as a dynamic, as a macro, and this will going to be replaced with the car model. After that, car maker, and maybe I should put the car maker on top, but it doesn't matter. And then we have the car maker ID, which is the car maker. This is the one. Okay, let's go back here and put here car maker and add a percentage here and a percentage here. So you can do that and add your custom text. Now, as you can see here, we have also some other fields here, which are appointment macros, and those are specific details about the appointment. So we have the service title, which is the same, of course, with the service ID. It will all of those will be replaced with the service name. Then we have the service link, which will link to the service that we have added, the provider link, the appointment start, appointment end, prices, appointment list, and appointment list end. If we want now to add the price for the appointment, we can add the appointment price that says here. And we can go and here, let's click here and let's paste that here. So I'm not going to edit that and select price equals or something like that. You can go and create whatever you want inside here. So after that, apply changes and save every time we do anything inside that form. So once you do that, you know that you have the send email. Now, I wish this send email could change to send email to admin or something like that. So you can know directly which send email action is, because we're going also to add another send email, which will be the send email to the customer. And I would like that to be appeared inside here, so I know directly what I'm going to edit and not having to go and edit that in order to see which one is which. Okay, let's edit that. And here we have the send email, of course, because we want to send the email to the customer. And here we're going to select the email from submitted form field. So it means grab the email that is added from the visitor and the form field. Which field is inside the form that it has the email? It's the user email. After that, reply to. If you want, you can select here custom email and then put here info at your company, and I would suggest that you do that. So info or whatever email is for the company that is for the bookings, and info at cartech or carservices.com. Okay, subject booking successfully received or something like that. Then from name will be the name of the company, cartech or cartech. Okay, cartech. From email address, again, this is the info. And then we have the contact type HTML, and everything can be added manually here, as we said before. So we are going to do something like thank you for the booking, and then appointment details. And then you're going to add the details so you can remind the visitor what they have selected for the appointment. After that, we're not going, of course, to edit all of those. Apply the changes and you are good to go. We have other notifications or other actions to add here if we want. We can go ahead and select something like redirect to a page. So redirect to a page, and then it will ask which URL you're going to go to. So static page, custom URL, or current page. So we want to go to a custom URL, and this will be the thank you note. Or you can go to a static page and then you can just go and select the page that you have inside the database. The custom URL is going to go also outside the website if you want for some reason. And then we have, of course, the current page, which means that it will just refresh the whole page if you want. Then we have some arguments if we want to keep for the redirection. We're not going to do that. And then you can add a hash to the redirect URL. So you can go straight to something inside the page, and scroll down the page and go to a section. We're not going to do that. I'm going to cancel that. And now I'm going to update that because I have just add something. And as you can see now that I have those fields, we can see that there are 4, even though I didn't edit that because I haven't deleted that. In order to delete that, you just go and click here the X, and this will say, do you want to delete? Yes. And now we have the 3 settings that we have chosen here. After that, we have to add our own custom fields. We're going to do that in the next video. So if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this and also for this series. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.